Hello everybody and welcome to the Minecraft Weekly Snapshot, and this week is 13 week 03A and we've got quite a few changes this week, and you may notice the first one here on the menu screen. The texture pack button is no longer here, it's been moved. It's now in the options menu and texture packs, and what this actually means is the long awaited feature of changing texture packs in game has now been implemented. Dinnerbone has been hard at work getting that working, and it's now working. So we have this button here which we can now access in game and change our texture pack. So let's just get into our test world here, tutorial world. It's test world that we do all this stuff in. So let me just show you this in action, because we're going to go through the menu options stuff first. So you press S and obviously come to your options screen and you can choose a texture pack. I just converted Faithful using the unstitcher that Dinnerbone has, and unfortunately it doesn't show the new items because it is a little outdated, and there seems to be a few bugs with a few things. I presume because the texture pack is outdated is the reason for this bug, but we can actually relog and everything will just come back to normal. So if I relog here into my world, everything should be relatively back to normal. So yeah, and you get all of your HD items. I have not tested it on stuff like swords. I don't think these have been done yet. Yeah, as you can see, it still looks rather broken at the back. So I presume that's probably going to be an update done to the texture pack, if anything, rather than the actual game itself. So yeah, that's pretty much that. So let's go, and I'm just going to revert it back to the default texture pack because it's the one that I always know will work. But you still seem to get these bizarre little bugs and things going on. But, well, we can just fix that with a relog. So still a bit buggy yet, but I'm sure they'll resolve those things before 1.5 is released. So, that was the first set of menu options. We've also got some new multiplayer settings. So now we have these little chat settings. We now have focused height and unfocused height. I don't really know what these do. That was on 90, wasn't it? I've not played with these. And I know that this one controls the width of the text across your screen. I presume that this is how focused you want the height to be, and this is how unfocused you want the height to be. So the further up the page you go, then the more unfocused it becomes, and that's the more focused it stays. I haven't played with those a lot again, so... And also there's a scale thing here as well, which is new, so you can actually scale the window up or down, which could be actually quite handy for multiplayer, and they're the new multiplayer options. There's not a lot more to say about those. So yeah, they're the new options in the game, so we've got a few new useful options, which I'm sure many multiplayer people and texture pack fans will be happy about. So... into the main content of today's snapshot then. So let's open our book, Minecraft Snapshot 13 Week 03A. The first thing we have is rotatable quartz pillars. So you may have seen these while I was messing with the texture pack stuff. We now have rotatable rotatable pillar blocks. So the way you do this is, that's just the normal way you would put a pillar block down. And if you right click on a face, then it will go in that general direction. So you have all the different orientations like I have here, and you can go from sides or whatever, so you can go like that, and there's plenty of different alternatives. It works exactly in the way that the rotatable logs do, but just with the quartz. So I can see a lot of different things being made with this now, and I think it's a nice little neat cool addition. So they've improved obviously the options, which we've been through. So TNT Minecarts have now been improved, and I'm glad that they have, because there were a few issues with TNT Minecarts before. So if we run up to this TNT Minecart and we actually activate it over an activator rail, if it blows up over rail, it will not blow the actual rail up. Which is really handy. It keeps the rail, but it blows up everything around it. As you can see, some sandstone blew up. Now this is not the case if you are derailing a TNT minecart. So if, for example, I put this on here and it goes for a little ride and I knock it off, that will still blow up. So just be careful of that. But now if you want to build any sort of bombs, you'll keep the rail, which could be kind of handy, especially if it's like a rail line and you want to surprise a player in a map, but everything else will blow up around it. So pretty cool stuff. It also blows up redstone as well, so if you were to detonate it here, it would blow up redstone, so you can activate or deactivate devices that way as well. So yeah, that's the TNT minecart changes in a nutshell. So skeletons are harder to melee kill and zombies are harder to kill with a bow. So the thing is with this, skeletons have now got an extended range. They have 15 blocks worth of range now, and that's on all difficulties. And they also have a chance, depending on the different difficulty, of how likely they are to hit you. So on easy, they barely ever hit you. On normal, they have a better chance. On hard, they almost always hit you. So that's the skeleton changes. And zombies' behaviour is quite interesting, because if we actually set the time to be night here, and we actually fool around with some zombies, you'll be quite surprised at the results. I mean, I was testing this, and these might not be all the changes to do with the mobs, but these are the ones that have been noted at the time in the patch notes. If I... Whoops, we're not on the correct difficulty here. Let's go on to normal. And I spawn, say, a load of these guys. And I get a bow. And wow, they are actually really loud. So why don't we just turn them down a bit? I don't know, 10. If you shoot one of these guys with a bow... Look at this. They all chase you now, which I find quite interesting. So this is if you shoot them with a bow. If you shoot them with a sword, getting a bit of Sean Connery in there. If you actually shoot them, or sorry, hit them with a sword, I don't think this behaviour is present. So let's just go back onto peace for a moment, just so I can get rid of all these guys. Options, normal. I think it's so that they swarm you when hit by a bow, so if we spawn a bunch more and get a sword... Oh, I've just got this golden one. Oh no, they still do with a sword. Interesting. So now zombies will actually swarm you if you hit one. So when you hit them with a bow, obviously you're going to be quite far out and have a long range. And they actually do have a really long range. How long is their range before they lose interest? Do they even lose interest? Look at that. So they've not even lost interest. Does it have to be like 100 blocks away? Wow, they still haven't lost interest. That's interesting. That is interesting behaviour. I think some of them have lost interest, but not all have. So zombies now will not lose interest once hit, which is rather interesting. Or at least it will be very far away, so it's going to sort of sends out like a call, like a silverfish call, to say, from a zombie saying, hey, to his buddies, this guy hit me, come and attack him with me. That's kind of the sort of thing behind it, and I've obviously explained the skeletons and the changes with them. So overall, sort of zombies have kind of got a shared trait with the zombie pigmen now. If you hit them, they will kind of call more. But that's an interesting behaviour. I can see map makers taking advantage of that, particularly Vex in his maps. So yeah, they're the new behaviours for mobs. Obviously the extended range, and obviously I was playing on normal here. The range is different, and it gets easier on easy difficulty, and it gets hard on harder difficulty. So this is a difficulty scale thing. You can play around with the different difficulties and find out something that's comfortable for you. So, let's just restore any sort of... I just wanted to make sure I hadn't erased that. Let's just sort of restore normality here, and I'm just going to do toggle downfall. Alright, so let's see. On to the next thing. There's also been a hopper minecart added, and there's a couple of other things. Did I actually miss a page out? Oh no, we missed the dropper block. Well, we'll come back to the dropper block, and we're going to do the minecart with a hopper first. So the minecart with a hopper is a new minecart in the game, and basically it acts exactly like a hopper would, but it's movable. It's in a minecart, so it's movable. So if I, for example, I put a chest over it, like this, just shift click it, like that, and then I dump items in there, it's going to go into the hopper, and underneath you could have another hopper, for example, which would take the items out, or when it gets full, send it on its way, activate a powered rail or something, or a piston to send it on its way to go somewhere else. So it's kind of like something where it picks up items out of a chest. You can power it because obviously depending on how full the contents of something is, maybe when the chest gets empty or when this gets full, using the comparator, you can actually then send it on its way via a redstone signal. So you've got a fully automated system now for collecting and transporting goods, so that perhaps when it reaches another end it empties out, and then when it's fully empty it goes round in a loop. I can see that being really useful for those sort of mob towers and things that people build, stuff like Ethos Tower. And I will really like this, especially when we get to doing stuff like that in my tutorial series. We'll get crazy with some of this stuff and we'll have a play around with that. So yeah, that's basically what that does. Obviously it will come out from underneath the hopper, from what I understand. So if we get an actual chest, I don't think you can actually put rails over a chest. I've never tried it. Can you put rails over a chest? I don't think you will be able to because it's too big. Well, it's not the right block height. Now you would need another hopper, and then you would need a chest underneath the hopper. So you put a hopper in here, then you would put a chest underneath, for example, and then you grab this and shift click it, and then when the minecart with the hopper rolled over that, for example, there might be a block here to stop it moving, then you could fill this up with items. Well, it would be filled up with items, and they would come through into this chest. So it's sort of like an automated storage system. So that's the minecart with a hopper. It's crafted with just a minecart and a hopper, and you get the minecart with a hopper. So pretty basic crafting recipe, as it is with all minecarts. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Not a whole lot more to say about that, really. And finally, for this week, onto the dropper block. And the dropper block looks a bit like a dispenser, and in many ways it acts exactly like a dispenser, but it's not quite the same. So here's the crafting recipe for it. It looks a bit like a dispenser, but instead of a bow it uses a hopper, and it becomes a dropper. So the dropper does exactly what it says. It drops all items as item drops. So if I stand on this, instead of firing the arrow like a dispenser would, it actually drops out the item. So I can pick it up. So that's great for automated sorting systems, especially with stuff like this as well. The minecart with a hopper. If you have stuff that's being fired out of dispensers into them or into a hopper, you have that there so the arrows will actually obey those laws rather than shooting out as a projectile. So stuff like fire charges and fireworks, minecarts or boats when rails are next to them, that kind of thing, or water's next to them, then they will actually drop themselves as items out of a dropper. So there's also another use, which you can place a chest in front of the dropper, stand on it, and it actually puts the arrow, or whatever you've got in there, actually into the chest. So I'm pretty sure this would probably work with a minecart with a chest. That's something I've not tried. Why don't we try that now? I do test things, I wouldn't say thoroughly, but I test them to the point where I know what they do. So we've got some arrows in there. So it puts it in the minecart with a chest. I imagine it would put it in a hopper with a chest. Sorry, a hopper minecart. And I presume that it also works in, well, you wouldn't want to put it in a dispenser, but I presume it also works in any other sort of storage holder, maybe maybe furnaces and stuff, automatic smelting, but then again you could just use a dispenser for that. But yeah, it certainly is quite useful, but it kind of cuts out the hopper needing. It kind of cuts out needing a hopper, so that's pretty cool. If anything, it kind of reminds me of like a hopper that fires outwards rather than up or down. It can go forwards. And you can obviously rotate this however you want. So for example, like that, that and that. So you've kind of got now up and down is a hopper, and you want a dropper which drops the item in a given direction. So that kind of makes sense to me, I guess. There's a number of practical uses for this, I'm sure. I'm sure you guys can think some practical uses of that up, and I will look at those in a tutorial as well. But yeah, that's what the dropper basically does. There's not a whole lot more to say. There's been a bunch of bug fixes, as there always has been in every snapshot from the last week's snapshot, and we'll see what happens next week. So that's pretty much it for today. There's not a whole lot more going on. Yeah, so that was all that was noted anyway. I will link you to the Reddit changelog as always, and the Majira bug fix page if you want to know what the bug fixes are. If anything I am missing here is added or has suddenly changed or I have not been through in this snapshot, please let me know and I will add it to the description. And also I will give you credit, and if I spot anything I will also add it to the description, so any sort of missing content and stuff. And yeah, that is pretty much it. There's not a whole lot more to say. So thanks for watching guys, and I hope to see you in next week's snapshot, or indeed in something else. So thanks for watching guys, see you later and have a good day.